few more, always on the left side this time, and they're easy to clean. The next one on the left is dedicated to the open-air markets, a National Tile Museum, which is not really in the most central part of the city. In case you want to go to the Tile Museum, it's located in a former, like 600-year-old building. With the development of tile making, the different techniques. It's an amazing building, and the collection of tiles is absolutely superb. The Portuguese word for tiles is azulejos, which, by the way, has nothing to do with the word azul, which means blue. It's just a coincidence. You have tiles in different colors, yellow, green, purple, and it's still called azulejo. Azulejo comes from an Arabic word, al-zulaik, which means basically square tile. So look on the left side, there's more tiles, blue and white in this case, which are the colors we Portuguese people believe that never run out. Classical, they fit beautifully anywhere. In front of us, on the walls of that panel, right across from our yard, there's more tiles. It looked very much like a rainbow. It's not really a rainbow, because there's also black tiles on that panel, but these tiles are quite new, from 2001, so that's still considered new, designed by a Portuguese artist. He passed away recently, Mr. Eduardo Neri, N-E-R-Y, Eduardo. According to the artist, Eduardo Neri, he wanted to celebrate the new cycle in our lives, because the tiles are from 2001. 2001 was the beginning of the 21st century and the beginning of the third millennium. So according to the artist, to bring some hope, joy, happiness, color to our lives, to a new cycle in our lives, that was the purpose of these colorful tiles you see on the right and left hand sides on the walls of this tunnel. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now down by the river and by the port. Lisbon is not that small. Left and over to the right. This is the river and the port. We have 4 piers for cruise ships coming over every day, sometimes more than one. And right in front of us now, everyone, this is the Suspension Bridge of Lisbon, reminding us all of the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, California. Our bridge was inaugurated in 1966. It's younger than the Golden Gate, right? The main difference between the Golden Gate and our bridge in Lisbon is that ours was reinforced in 1999 and a railway was built on it. On the lower deck of the bridge, we have a train connecting the other side of the river and the city center of Lisbon in 10 minutes only. The train is perhaps the best way to cross the bridge and avoid all the traffic problems. An average of 150,000 cars cross this bridge daily. And it's a toll bridge. You have to pay to cross. The bridge has 6 lanes. It's not for pedestrians, but it's possible to go to the top. In front of us, on this vertical concrete pillar of the bridge, there's an elevator that takes you to the top. Arriving on top, you find yourselves on a transparent floor for one of those scary experiences. And you have to pay for that, of course, to be scared. We are now passing underneath the bridge on the other side of the river. If you wait a little bit, you'll see much better. Not far from the bridge, but on the other side of the river, we have the statue of Christ. We call it Christ the King or Christ in Majesty. That's a smaller replica of the statue of Christ in Rio de Janeiro, in Brazil. Our statue of Christ was inaugurated in 1959, and it was built in thanksgiving for the non-participation of Portugal during World War II. Portugal remained in the group of neutral countries during the conflict, and that's why the statue of Christ was built. 40,000 tons of concrete were used for the construction of that monument to Jesus Christ. I spare you all the numbers and figures of the statue, like width, wide, weight, too much information. Let me just share with you the size of the nose of that statue of Christ. just for the nose, 1 meter long, 3 feet. By the size of the nose, you can figure out how big the statue is. Beautiful view of the bridge and the statue of Christ, everyone, on the other side of the river standing out. We are now following the river. We'll be stopping in a couple of minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We are now entering the western part of the city. This is already the western part of Lisbon, the neighborhood of Belem. Remember Bethlehem, which Bethlehem means in Hebrew, the house of bread. It's quite an important river, big and deep. This is not the widest part of the river, though. The widest part of the river is behind us, forming an estuary. It's not a delta, it's an estuary. The Atlantic Ocean is actually in front of us. The mouth of the river, the mouth, is in front of us, 6-7 miles away from here. On the right side, there's a long yellow building from the 1700s. This used to be a rope factory. The ropes and the cables for the ships used by the Portuguese navigators were made inside this yellow building that we now use for exhibitions. Coming up to the left, one of the newest museums of Lisbon, the MAT, M-A-A-T, standing for Museum of Art, Architecture and Technology. It was projected by a British architect, Mrs. Amanda Levitt. It's possible to walk on its roof. This is the back of the museum. The front gives onto the river, MAT. Next door, made of brick. This is nowadays the Electricity Museum, a former power station for the production of energy. The building was kept, restored, and this is now the Electricity Museum, a fine example of what we call here industrial archaeology. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be stopping in a minute. For practical reasons, we'll stop first to see the Tower of Belem. Belem Tower is considered like the symbol of Lisbon. After the tower, we are not walking, always with the bus. We are coming to the monument you see on the left side. So don't worry taking pictures, because sometimes you take pictures through the window thinking that we won't be stopping. Here we will. But for practical reasons, let's first go further down to see the tower first. And then we are coming to this monument. We'll be stopping here. Okay, everyone? So, no worries. Now, turn on the whisper. We'll be using the whisper for 5 minutes at probably. It's more for an orientation to show you where the tower is, coffee and restrooms. And then you can count on a good half hour just for yourselves. Walk around, take your pictures, have your cup of coffee, and don't forget to use the restrooms. It's always a good the first. So for everyone, it's always important as a guide to remind you, watch your step at all times, especially in Portugal. Nothing is even. The cobblestones are blistered, sometimes a bit slippery. When it rains, of course, it's much worse. There's nothing the best American lawyer can do about the sidewalks in Portugal, because they are part of our tradition, a part of our heritage. Keep an eye on your personal belongings, okay? Also, there's no protection between you and the river.
I got it.
Got it?
It's good again. Take my seat. Oh, gracias.
Obrigado in Portuguese we say obrigado.
All right.
That's the Portuguese word for thank you, obrigado. If you want to say thank you in Portuguese, obrigado. All right? If you're a man, because if you're a woman, you should say obrigada. Okay? Gracias from the day after tomorrow on. Or tomorrow by the end of the day. Because tomorrow you'll be spending a little bit in the morning in Portugal, right? Before you step into Spain. So while in Portugal, say obrigado, in case you want to say thank you, obrigado. So ladies and gentlemen, let's from the Atlantic Ocean nearby. So to protect Lisbon, to defend the harbor, this fort was built. It's a defensive fortress, so it looks very beautiful. Look at the Venetian style balconies on the wall, and look at those turrets at the corners that seem to be topped by half oranges. It's a Moorish influence inspired in the mosque of Kutubiyya in Marrakesh. The Portuguese architect who built this tower, he worked a lot in North Africa, bringing from there some exotic and Moorish elements of decoration. So this is the Tower of Belem, Bethlehem. You see it again, remember to see the symbol of Lisbon, for it to prove that you in Lisbon you need to take a picture in front of that tower. Okay? Let's continue here.
I think you must be
They're
proposing.
proposal.
Time. Okay, are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, so before the departure time now, please get close to the tower, take your picture. Okay, take a picture of the tower. Then after the tower, you may walk along the river. You see that building right in front of us? Yeah, it's a coffee shop. We're going to have a coffee there. It's very nice. We also have the custard cards that Lisbon is famous for. The custard, the cards, right? But the washroom there, the restrooms, they charge you €1 to use the restrooms, €1. Normally, there's no line for the restrooms, but one never knows. Because look, if you look in front of us, you see when there's a seaplane. See the seaplane? Right behind the seaplane, you see a few tuk-tuks right over there in white color. Where those tuk-tuks are, beyond the seaplane, you find another small building that says on the wall, WC. That WC there is just a WC by itself. It's not a coffee shop like the one in front of us. On that WC, you have to pay 50 cents of €1, but there's sometimes there's a bit of a line. 50 cents. You don't have to have the exact change. And you find them nice and clean. My point is that you have two places, where you can use the restrooms. Right in front of us, coffee shop, €1. And beyond the seaplane, you can't miss it.
They have got like a small seat.
Yeah, so how?
Por que essa lady? Porque Portugal.
Lá à direita, ao lado da ponte, é muito interessante.
Penakla. Yes, yes.
Portugal still a glorious, powerful nation.
A gente jogou no fala 3 vezes, falou 3
Blocks of limestone. Each one of them carved individually and placed on top of each other, like a puzzle. Right? I told you I would not go through every statue. I would the most significant ones, the most important. behind this period of the great sea voyages of the 15th, 16th centuries, that gentleman up front became known in world history, some of you may remember, as Prince Henry the Navigator. Henry the Navigator was the founder of the nautical school of Portugal back in the 1400s. So that's the sketch number 1. Again, Henry the Navigator. Now look at the sketch number 3, the third one, behind the man on his knees. The sketch number 3, that's one section of the remind that John had left on his place, inaugurated the sea way to England.
Peter.
Now look at the sketch number 5. Can you see the number 5? There's a man holding a ring. See the man with the ring?
Yes.
He's the Lord of the Ring.
Oh.
Portuguese Ferdinand Magellan. I'm sure most of you heard about Ferdinand Magellan. Ferdinand Magellan was a Portuguese navigator, but he sailed under the Spanish flag. Magellan started a trip of circumnavigation around the globe, but he never finished his journey because he was literally killed in the Philippine Islands. The Spanish navigators finished the trip started by Portuguese Magellan. The ring that Magellan's holding symbolizes just symbolically the world tour. But now for those of you like details, notice that one little piece of the ring down below is missing. See? The ring is not complete, it's broken on purpose, indicating that Magellan never finished his journey. And now this was a choice of the author of the monument to place Magellan with his title down on the floor. You notice that everyone else is looking up front, towards the horizon. They seem to be proud of themselves. And Magellan holding the ring, looking down, indicating what? Sadness, disappointment, because he never accomplished with his dream of doing the complete world tour. That's why I invited you to come with me, and this time, perhaps take a bit longer, check on some of these details. Otherwise, those people arrive here, they take a picture, it's perfect for Instagram and everything, but then you go away and you miss some of these details. The names of the artists, I was going through that because on the other side, the names of the artists are written on the wall. Mr. Continental and Mr. Leopoldo Almeida, and their names are written at the corner.
a maritime museum. So no monks living there anymore. The church is still an active church dedicated to Saint Jerome. On the left side, Jeronimos Church and Monastery. Now, next door, coming up to your left in seconds, the presidential palace, the official residence of our president of the republic. You know, the palace goes back to 1700s. It used to be a royal palace. Our kings were living there. What happened is that in 1910, the monarchy was replaced by the republic, and the royal palace became the presidential palace. Our president's name is Marcelo. We have elections for the presidency every 5 years. Our presidents can be re-elected once, but not twice. So normally, to keep the tradition, if we like them and well, if they behave, we keep them for 10 years. Our president was re-elected for a second and last term with the support of the majority of the Portuguese population. So coming up to your left, we are slowing down because there's a train passing, and on the left side the presidential palace that you may enjoy to see. So takes like 5 seconds for the train to go, and then on the left side the official residence of our president of the republic, Marcelo Rebelo de Souza. The president is the head of state, he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, but is a figurehead on the left side, everyone. The one in charge of the government in Portugal really is the prime minister. So we have a president living here. Can you see the green flag on top of the building flying outside? That flag indicates that our president is in residence right now. So in Portugal we have a president and a prime minister. And for the first time in the history of our republic since 1910, there is no first lady. Well, there's no first gentleman either. There's a first dog. But you know, the choice of the dog was not the smartest of the choices. Our president was even criticized for having the dog he has. Because do you remember President Obama? The Obamas had 2 Portuguese water dogs, remember? Do you remember their names? You don't? The Obama's dogs' names were Bo and Sunny. Well, Bo died recently. Portugal was in shock. The Portuguese government was about to decree 1 day of national mourning for the death of Bo. And our president here has, you know what? A German Shepherd's dog. The dog is beautiful, nothing against Germany, but since he's the president and there are Portuguese breeds of dogs, having that German Shepherd's dog, really, that was not the best choice. Anyway, in Portugal, we always try to think positive, and among ourselves, we always said that, well, at least it didn't pick up a French poodle or a Chihuahua. That would be a little bit embarrassing. Those dogs are nice, protective, but I reminded that the president is also the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. He's in charge of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and well, I think a Chihuahua is not the best example for power for someone in charge of the army, if you know what I mean, right? This is the moment you have to decide. We have 2 stops now, one in downtown Lisbon, at the very heart of the city downtown, where you have the highest concentration of bars, cafes, restaurants and shops. The place to be in town, really downtown. And then we'll finish at the hotel. Some of you may prefer to stay in downtown to spend the rest of the day. Things to see and to do in downtown. Well, you can take the beautiful pedestrian street, Augusta Street. Augusta Street is a small but very nice pedestrian street that connects Rocio Square and Commerce Square down by the river. In Commerce Square, there's lots of places also to get some food and drink, Riverside Walk. It's a very nice place to go. In Commerce Square, you have also a nice restaurant, which is the Beer Museum, just in case. From downtown where we stop, you can also take the tram number 28. It's a very popular tram ride that goes up and down the 7 hills of Lisbon. You know, the trams like San Francisco has, for me, it's public transportation, but they are also considered nowadays very much of a tourist attraction, right? So in case you decide to take the tram just keep in mind that sometimes you have a long line. Sometimes they go very full, like packed, like sardines in cans. And you may not enjoy that ride very much. On top of that, being a tourist attraction, that's where unfortunately pickpocketing is more frequent. So double your attention, keep an eye on your personal belongings at all times. Something nice to do also in the center of town, you have a castle on top of the hill, St. George Castle. St. George Castle is a medieval fortification on top of the hill where you enjoy a beautiful view overlooking the city, the hills and the river. And then from St. George Castle you can walk down the narrow streets of the old neighborhood of Lisbon, the district of Alfama. Alfama is the oldest part of the city, really the medieval quarter. Narrow streets and alleys. It's a very charming, picturesque part of the old town, Alfama district. Between St. George Castle on top of the hill and the river, you also have Lisbon's Cathedral, which is the oldest church of Lisbon. The Cathedral of Lisbon goes back to the 1100s. It was started in 1147. It's a fortress-like cathedral, built like a fortress, like very like stronghold, you know what I mean? With very thick walls, 1100s, Lisbon's Cathedral. And then, well, you have countless museums. If you like art, there's an amazing private art collection called Gulbenkian Museum and Foundation, covering 5,000 years of history of art. Egyptian, Greek, Roman, Mesopotamian, Islamic art, Far East, and European paintings by Rubens, Rembrandt, all the French Impressionists. An amazing collection, Gulbenkian. It's open till 6 o'clock. It's surrounded by a beautiful park with a very nice cafeteria also for those who like art. Gulbenkian Museum. Then there's other museums like for all tastes. For example, look at this. Coming up to your right, if you look now, there's a big white building. This is nowadays the Orient Museum on the right side. A museum that tells about the presence of the Portuguese people in Asia on the right side. The building is from 1940 and it used to be, believe it or not, a refrigerator for codfish. By the way, codfish is our national food. We call it in Portuguese language bacalhau. Believe it or not, we have 365 different recipes for codfish. One per day in the year. You can even buy the book if you want with all the recipes. Codfish is big. Portugal has one of the highest fish consumptions in the world. I think it has to do with our geography, with the long Atlantic coastline. We became this country of sailors, navigators, explorers, and fishermen. I'd like to remind you also that Portugal doesn't finish here. We still have nowadays as part of our territory the islands of Madeira and the Azores. By the way, in one of the islands of the Azores, there's since World War II a very important US Air Force base. Strategically speaking, it's very important, midway in the Atlantic Ocean between America and Europe. So remember that things are a bit slower here. In Portugal, for example, when you go to a restaurant or to a bar, if you don't ask for the check to pay, it will never ever come to you ever. You risk to stay inside the restaurant till midnight. When they close their doors, you have to ask them to bring the check and pay. Otherwise, you'll be there forever. Also, when you go to a restaurant in Portugal, especially if you go to a traditional Portuguese restaurant, it's normal that you have on the table those little starters like olives, bread, cheese, butter. Those are not the gift of the house. You pay for those starters separately and individually. It's not a gift of the house. To avoid disappointment, it's good that you know this in advance. If you want to eat those starters, you pay for them. Honestly, it will not ruin your budget. It might add 2, 3 or 4 euros on top of the check, but those are not included. If you don't want those starters, and they are very basic, like again, bread, olives, butter, you can send them back, you can decline those starters, and you won't be charged. But if you eat them, you pay for them. It's not a gift, okay? It's not included in the price. We are not cheating or taking advantage because you're travelers. It's just a Portuguese tradition. While we Portuguese people are waiting for the main dish to come, which might take 5 or 10 minutes, we like to have those little starters, like to prepare our stomach for the main dish to come. Portuguese local specialties, well, sea bass, codfish, shellfish rice, octopus. We prepare it beautifully here. You know octopus? It's something you find in every restaurant. It's very popular here, octopus. Normally the octopus comes, there are different ways of preparing, but usually it's grilled. But after being grilled, the octopus is taken into the oven a little bit just to make that skin a bit crispy. It's usually served with small potatoes. Those potatoes come with the skin. We don't peel them, and we eat everything, the skin and all. This is all presented with loads of warm olive oil and garlic. In one word, yummy. For those of you who are not excited with my seafood speech, all the restaurants serve meat also. Beef, pork, turkey, chicken. You may find even lamb, duck, rabbit. I know for some of you it's like eating your pet. You think of Bugs Bunny, you feel sorry for the poor animal. Any vegetarian?
Yes.
Some vegetarians. So listen, vegetarians will be fine. But honestly, well, if you go to a traditional Portuguese restaurant, vegetarian options sometimes are a little bit boring. Not to say tasteless. Honestly, vegetarians will be happier in Asian restaurants in general. That doesn't have to be necessarily Chinese. It can be Chinese, Indian, Thai, Middle East, or in Portugal, because of our history, we have some very specific Asian restaurants. For example, Indian restaurants specialized on food from Goa, because Goa in India was Portuguese until the 1960s. Or for example, Chinese restaurants in Lisbon, there's a few specialized on Cantonese food because of Macau, our last colony until 1999. There's a chain which I think is Spanish called Honest Greens. Honest Greens. It's spread a little bit all over Lisbon, and it's not only for vegetarians, because sometimes you're traveling with someone who's not vegetarian. So for example, Honest Greens will be perfect for both, for vegetarians and non-vegetarians. They deal with the fresh food and products, all organic, but they also have meat and fish. But for vegetarians, Honest Greens, it's a very good place to go. There's one on Liberty Avenue. The avenue will be now taking down towards downtown Lisbon. What else? Also wine. Portugal is a wine country. We are in the top 10 list of world wine producers. So you should try some wine. In Portugal, we deeply believe that a meal without wine, it's called breakfast. So get your wine with your food, right? Have you heard about green wine? Green wine? Vinho verde. Vinho verde, green wine. It's a naturally sparkling wine produced in the north of Portugal, but available all around the country. It's a wine that you drink chilly. It's sparkling. It's inexpensive, reasonable in price. It's a young wine. That's why we call it green. Not because of the color, because it's a young wine. Or also in every restaurant, it's like the white wine. Green wine is like the white wine, but we make it with grapes that have a lower sugar content, because the grapes, we pick them up before they ripe completely. So they have a lower sugar content, allowing this production of this so-called green wine, Vinho Verde. Or also, some Americans know the Portuguese rosé wine, one in particular, famous all around the world. Used in English American, you say Mateus. I would say Mateus. Mateus Rosé, you know Mateus? It's famous all around the world. In America, it's one of our biggest markets for Mateus. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, Mateus. As far as I know, there was no college party in America without loads of Mateus. It started some love stories, it inspired songs. Some of you were using the bottle to hold the candle because the shape of the bottle is beautiful. Okay, everyone? So Mateus Rosé for some good memories. All right, everyone, final portion of our tour. Also, since we are about to finish our tour, there might be some practical information before we hit Liberty Avenue for the final portion of the tour. Amaya might need to remind you what's going on for tonight and for tomorrow.
Hola, hola. Okay, so as Pedro said, we're about to say goodbye to Pedro and also to the bus, and also to me. I mean, I'm going to be around the hotel as well. If you need any assistance, I'm going to go all the way till the hotel. If you need any, as I said, any assistance concerning this afternoon. But just a quick reminder about tomorrow morning. Remember, we need to leave our big luggage with the orange, green, or yellow tag on, visible outside your room, so we can leave at 8 o'clock. And punctually, we depart at 8 o'clock towards Spain, okay? So that's, I said today, 7 o'clock will be the breakfast room open, so you can enjoy breakfast from 7 onwards. And I don't know if you have any questions concerning today and tomorrow that you might want to ask.
So bags out by 7 a.m.
Yeah,
tomorrow,
yeah,
correct?
yeah, the big luggage, yes, back out at 7, that's right. Yeah? All right, fabulous. Now I'll pass the mic to Peter again.
Alright, thanks, Amaya. Thank you very much, Amaya. I think everyone likes to see children, right? So here on the right side, they're having their morning break. Children, it's like a kindergarten on the right side. Look at those, so nice and cute. They know what happens when they grow up. They cross the street to the left. The building on the left side is a high school. So when they grow, they become like this. The young men already smoking over there. Look at that. Well, people in Europe smoke more than in America, right?
Yeah.